Happy Wednesday evening, everyone. I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit-Chat. Now we're hitting here. It looks like we're hitting about 8:30, I think, or so. But tomorrow is our Friday because here in Tampa, we don't have school. So even though, it's in about 8:30. So even though it's a little bit later than I would normally be on the computer deck, I thought I'd go ahead and give you a second upload today. All right. Before life moves on and all that stuff, I'm going to talk to you today, the third and final part of the car bedtime chit chat series. Okay. First off, if you are new, welcome. On this channel, we typically listen to Dave Ramsey telephone calls, and we like to learn what we can, we like to listen to other people's debt stories, see what we can learn about them. And try not to repeat the mistakes they have made. Sometimes we step away from those debt stories like we're going to do today, and we're talking about the purchase of my new $26,000 vehicle. So, and normally, like I said, we normally stick to Dave Ramsey debt calls, but today we're going to veer just a little bit, okay? So, if you're new, welcome, welcome. And of course, if you're a returning viewer, welcome back, family. All right, so let's kick it back and relax. So before I go into this, I kind of tried to figure out, I've watched a lot of videos on YouTube where people get really intimate about their debt. In other words, they really lay out what their budget is and all of that. Now, if I had a partner, a significant other, before I would ever lay out something like that, it would have to be agreed upon by them. And in all honesty, if I have a significant other, if I'm living with somebody and we're, sharing our budget and all that stuff, I most likely would not discuss it. Because to me, when you're involving somebody else's money, that really has to be a joint thing. So basically, if I were with somebody, in that type of, financial relationship and stuff, and we're living together, I would not be this detailed. I just don't think it's just not my style. Once you're in a relationship, it's just kind of private in that regards. But since I'm not in a relationship, that's to your advantage. Okay. And I'm going to be pretty transparent about my budget and how, and why I, was completely debt free, decided to go back into debt about a week ago. Okay. And decided to purchase a $26,000 brand new spanking car. It's a Toyota Corolla, hybrid. And I'm going to be pretty open with you guys about my budget. And it's kind of, I guess, my thank you to the universe world. Okay, if I can put a thank you out there to the world. Because it's just my budget. And as a teacher, you can look up what I make. It's not a secret. If you want to know how much a teacher makes, just know what state they work in, know how many years they've taught, and that'll give you a really good idea as to where they are on that pay scale. It's just, it's pretty basic. Okay. So since it is just me, I'm going to go ahead and be pretty transparent with my budget. You would need to watch car series 1 and 2. The first car series tells you basically why I decided to lease a car for 5.5 years before I chose to buy a car. Okay. And I just bought the vehicle last week. And then, car talk part 2 talks about, what I did to make leasing successful. This is the nuts and bolts of what most people will probably be interested in. And that is why would I basically go from being debt free to buying a $26,000 brand new car? Okay. Why am I willing to go back into debt for that? How long is the car payment? How much? Yada, yada. Okay. So I'm going to pretty much lay it on the line for you. I've written numbers down, all of that wonderful stuff. And I think to make it easier for you to follow and to understand, I'm going to go ahead and actually put it, a snapshot of the sheet. Yeah, I actually will. I hope I remember it before I upload. If I ever forget, don't kill me. Okay. But on this, I will at least put a snapshot of the sheet, probably up here in this corner. So I put it in this corner, that's going to be where the microphone is. So probably up in this area, somewhere around there. Okay. Because I think it'll be easier for you to actually see it. Here's basically the bottom line. Leasing, I guess starting from the beginning, in a sort of way. I'd always been raised with, buy a used car. And long story short, because I think it's pretty well explained in the other 2 prior videos, leasing really, really changed my opinion about buying a used car versus a new car. One of the biggest factors I think that leasing did for me was that when I would turn the lease car in, I would just be amazed going, I know the entire history of this car. I know every pothole. I know every curb. I know every ding dang dong, okay, that this car has ever interacted with. And and on the first lease, when I turned the car over, to Toyota, because that's the only company I leased through, I just remember after I turned it in after 3 years, I thought to myself, man, I know the entire history of this car. And I remember thinking, whoever gets this car is going to be so lucky because I know the entire history of it. On the other hand, with used cars that I had always owned, I was always like this. Dear God, please let me get a used car that's good. Don't get me one that's on the Carfax title report that says it's been in a crash. Don't get me one where, the person selling it knows that there's a knocking sound on the engine when it gets, 10 degrees cooler outside. In other words, what I found was that by buying a new car through the leasing process like I did, I didn't have to do any of that, pray stuff. I just, it's a new car. It's covered by the dealership for the next 3 years, yada, yada. That to me was very, very powerful in getting me to change my mind about buying new cars. Okay. It was huge in getting me to change my mind. That when I turned in a lease car, I was just like, I know the history. I know where this car's been. I wanted that same comfort with the next car. And I got it with the next car that I leased. The exact same comfort. I'm the first owner. And of course, this second lease, I just turned it in last week. I turned it in 5 months early, in fact. Okay. So that I have to be honest, leasing 2 new cars changed my opinion about buying new cars. And yes, I am fully aware. People say, you lose 20% as soon as you take it off the lot, yada, yada, got it. Okay. I've bought used cars my entire life. All right. Used cars. That's what I've driven in. Done it the standard way. The other thing that really changed my mind about buying new cars over used cars. And again, these are just my personal thoughts and opinions. Take them for what it may or may not assist you. Okay. You could totally disagree, and that's cool too. All right. Another thing that changed my mind about leasing cars, in addition to being in 2 new leased cars and knowing their history and all that, is I really, really think used cars are best bought by people who know how to fix their car. In other words, they're bought by people who are mechanically inclined, have the resources, the knowledge, in other words, the person buying the used car is not at total mercy as to whether or not this used car is going to be a dud or not. I mean, not to say that somebody who's, mechanically inclined and knows their way around, an engine, hybrid or not, computer or not. Okay. It's not to say that they can't get frustrated, but I'm sure they get a whole lot less frustrated when they understand the part that's wrong. They understand where to go buy that part. They know how to put that part into the car, for cheap themselves. They can do it themselves, or they got 10 guys at the shop or a gal at the shop, right? Women can work on cars too, okay, that know how to do it when they have that type of access. And I realize as a used car owner, when I own a used car, when I buy a used car and I do the praying of, oh please, make sure it works and all that, I don't have that type of access. I really am fully at the mercy of, is this a dud of a used car that I'm getting? Whereas when I have a new car, okay, there's something called the lemon law. All right. Like the fruit, the lemon law, which I won't get into the laws of it and all that stuff, but it basically, consumers had to fight for it to say, hey, you know what, if a car is a dud and it's a brand new car and it's a dud, you need to fix it. Okay. So there's the lemon law protection. New cars have bumper to bumper for 3 years. If you buy a used car, you might get a year. I bought a used car once and it was a Toyota Camry, and I swear to God, they said, oh, we did this 120-point check. And I think the doorknob or something with the door handle went wrong. And I went, there is no way you can tell me they did a 100-point inspection check and yanked on the doorknob and didn't know that there was a problem with the doorknob. So there was always that skeptical part of me that just doesn't really believe what I'm being sold, okay, or what I'm being told about a used car, and the paranoia that goes on with me in having a used car. And I think people who have the ability to fix their own cars, do most of their own maintenance, or they have really inexpensive access. My dad owns the body shop down the street. My my aunt and uncle own the mechanic shop on the other end. Okay. I mean, there you go. All right. God love you. All right. So knowing that I'm really at the mercy of, making sure that the people are giving me honest information about my car. I felt that when I leased 2 cars, those concerns just went away. I really, really think that to become financially debt-free, it's a combination of the mental freedom you have in your head. Do you feel free? Do you feel like you've got it under control? As much as it is the financial end of debt freedom, it's a combination of both. Yes, you might be able to put me into a used car and yeah, I might save an extra $2,000 over the life of the car. Okay. But do I feel mentally free? It has to be a combination of both. Sometimes it's worth it, probably more times than we'd like to admit. It's actually worth spending more, okay, to get something that makes you mentally happy long term, where you feel like you can breathe, as John would say on the Dave Ramsey show. All right. So really, those are a couple reasons that over the years, I don't wish to buy used anymore. I want a new car. Now, then the question becomes this: how does a school teacher go from debt-free to $26,000 in a new car? And how the heck am I going to get myself out of it? Well, let me explain to you really simply. I've lived a very frugal life ever since I was divorced. When my ex left about 9 years ago, I think it was in 2013, no secret on this channel, okay? He decided to leave, and my life was just topsy-turvy in finance. I had student loan, $110,000. I moved into a small apartment, and then I moved into a small condo. Okay. But I was living in a small apartment, 675 square feet. Now I have 840 square feet. I'm moving on up in the world. Okay. I have that. But my life was just basically in shambles at the time. And I really, really told myself that, I didn't want lifestyle creep. That's where the more you make, the more you're going to spend. I told myself, I really didn't want lifestyle creep. So over the last almost 10 years, yeah, it's been about 10 years because it's 2014, okay? Or excuse me, it's 2024, all right? I have really worked hard to make sure that really I don't live on more than what I made when I got divorced. Yeah. Okay. So that was in the low 50s. Last year I grossed, okay. That means with taxes, before they took taxes out. All right. I grossed 70,000. Okay. 62,000 being my teaching job, and about another 9,000 respectively. I think I'm having a hard time saying this word tonight. I think you get what I'm saying. Even English teachers, we lose what words to say. I grossed 70,000 on my tax return. It might have been 69.99. Okay, so it came to 70,000 overall. Okay, but I've always made sure to really, really live as if I were still making my 2013, 2014 income. Now, when I've reached debt freedom through a combination of many different things, okay, just many, many different things, from the pandemic where we didn't have to pay student loans, from a inheritance that my parents gave me, not enough to make me rich and retire and all of that stuff, but it put a nice down payment for about 75% of what it cost me to move in here, plus decorating it and doing the remodel and all of that. So I had about a $50,000 mortgage on this place, plus the student loan temporary hold where I put money towards this place. Basically, for the last 9 years, I have done nothing but really work to get out of debt. Okay. Got the student loan cleared in 2022. And at the same time, while I'm clearing debt, to not live more than what I making in 2013, which is probably about 53,000 a year, 54,000 at best. Okay. 54,000 at best. I became completely debt free at the end of 2023. And, debt freedom, folks, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. It's a combination of some luck. It's a combination of of a whole lot of planning. I mean, just stick-to-itiveness, tons of planning. It's a combination of a gift. My parents gave me a gift. I don't consider inheritances to be luck. That's just highly inappropriate to me. But to me, that was a gift. Okay, it's like when someone gives you a birthday gift. I don't look at that as luck. I look at that as it's a gift. Somebody's giving it to you from the heart. Okay, it's a combination of all those things. So a little bit of financial luck. Oh man, I won $5 in the lottery. Okay, that to me is luck. All right, but when all those things, little, gifting and a little bit of luck and a whole lot of your own planning, when all those things are working in sync with each other, okay, when all those things are working in sync and you have no one sinking you, like we hear so often about, on the Dave Ramsey show, we so often hear about, someone's trying to save money and somebody else is running up with a bill in the background. Okay, been there, done that. All right. But when things are in control, you will actually begin to find that when you achieve debt freedom and the closer you get to it, it's like, what is this? Kind of like a roller coaster. It starts out, roller coaster starts out really heavy with all your debt and bills, and you're trying to get your goals established, and you know what I mean? And you're doing a lot of mind change, because maybe you're going through some really difficult times like I did, all right? I think a lot of us can relate to divorce, broken relationships, family issues, yada, yada, okay? And that roller coaster starts out real slow, but as you start to relieve yourself of the bills, and as you start to see, blue skies, in front of you, it's amazing how quickly the roller coaster starts to pick up speed. And then there comes a point, in that roller coaster where you just kind of stop at the top. Okay, that's almost the part before your stomach starts to sink, and you just stop and you survey everything you have done around you, and you're just in awe. And that stop at the top of the roller coaster, at the top of that hill on the roller coaster, for a second, you just stop and you just take everything in, and you're just like, I can't believe I can see this, and look at, I can see over there, and I can see here. But what we're looking at, what I look at in my world of finances, I can't believe I got this much achieved. I can't believe I made it to this point, because that roller coaster felt so heavy as I was trying to climb the hill. In fact, just trying to get the roller coaster started, okay, buckle in the seatbelt, strap in. I mean, it almost seemed like it was impossible to get it to move. But when you finally get to that roller coaster to the top of the hill, and you realize you have achieved debt freedom, and you realize that, wow, you really can make it to the top. And you just freeze there for a minute, and you just stare at everything around you. And then what does that roller coaster do afterwards? That's right. It shoots downhill, and it goes fast. And everything is just flying by you. And you're screaming, but you're not screaming in pain. It's not the scream, hopefully not, okay, as you were trying to climb that roller coaster and the dread and all of that stuff. But it's just that downhill coast, and it doesn't need any help. It needs no equipment. It just coasts straight on its own downhill. The one thing that achieving debt freedom has allowed me to see is once you have made a major chunk, okay, I'm talking a big chunk of your bills are gone. And these aren't bills that are going to come back. These are bills that are gone permanently, like mortgages and student loans. Okay. Hopefully, they won't come back. Okay. And if they do come back, they're definitely in control. But we're just going to talk in terms of, these bills aren't coming back. All right. It's amazing how all of a sudden that first step of debt freedom, or that first bill that's finally under control, the next bill is easier to control. And then that bill gets easier and easier. This is why Dave Ramsey talks about the debt snowball. Because even though it may not be the most efficient money way to get rid of debt, okay, people who have had debt recognize that sometimes getting rid of debt isn't about the money. It's simply about being able to acknowledge that, hey, this bill is gone. To me, it was like leasing a car. Leasing a car, I did it for 5.5 years, not because it was cheaper. It's because I needed the help. I needed the psychological help to get through some really tough times. I didn't need more commitment. I didn't need to be committed to a car. That makes sense. I could be committed to a lease. That was for 3 years. I could handle that at that time in my life, following my divorce and all that. But could I handle, hey, Carrie, you're going to keep this car now for the next 8, 10, 12 years? Absolutely not. I could not handle that at that time. When I finally achieved debt freedom in September September 2023. And I was able to sweep up the last little bit of bills, just the very last. The only thing that I had left, really, was just my leased car. That's all I really had left. And I had other little bills and stuff, which I'll, just kind of rattle off on here for you. Okay. But let's take a look. And I'm going to put this up so you can see it, because I think it's easier for you to see it if I post it while I'm talking about it. Okay. Because I don't really want to hold it up to the camera because that's awkward. So I'll just find a spot on the camera here so you can see it. You will see that I had, not have, all right, as far as this car, I had a student loan at $400. I had a mortgage at $400. I had my Toyota Corolla, all right, which is $400. And I have an HOA, which is at $435. So between my student loan, my mortgage, my Toyota, and my HOA, that respectively came to about $1,635. So about $1,635. All right. Now, a lot of people probably want to know, why is it that I would get into debt for $26,000, and how the heck am I going to peel myself out when I'm, looking at $1,635 in bills right there? Well, really, really simple, folks. Before I bought this $26,000 car, I saved up just shy of $10,000 of it. Just shy of $10,000. And those accounts will be released over the next couple of months because they're in accounts that I can't just reach in. I have to wait till they mature. So $10,000 was already saved. So on a $26,000 bill, I paid under manufacturer's MSRP, and the $26,000 is total. That's everything. Okay. So on that $26,000 bill, let's just take away, respectively $10,000. That leaves me about $16,000 left. This little school teacher is going to pay that car off in about 6 to 8 months. That's it. That's all I need. I was going to pay it off in 12 years and realized that was a ridiculous amount of time. 12 years. I was going to pay it off in 12 months. And then I realized that's a ridiculous amount of time. I don't need 12 months. I need about 8. And there is the possibility I could knock it down in 6. So I'm going to say between 6 to 8 months, this $26,000 car will be paid off. I am willing to make the sacrifices to get a less expensive car. Okay, the Toyota Corolla Hybrid is considered a very economical car. It's interesting because some people slam it. They go, it's just not fancy. I don't care about fancy. What I care about is I want a $26,000 car and I can pay it off in 8 months, because it only took me a few months to save 10 grand. That didn't take me that long. Basically, with the budget that I have as a single school teacher, I basically don't spend money. And I don't think it really dawned on me until I really wanted this car, just how little money I spend. I don't spend that much. I don't have a lot of fancy clothes. I don't go on a lot of fancy vacations. I definitely don't eat out fancy. So I'm going to be real kind of transparent here with you guys and just kind of show you what I, as a single school teacher, spend my money on, and why it is I can make a $2,000 car payment a month. Now, did I set it up to be $2,000 in payments a month? No, because when you go and you buy a car at a dealership, you never say to them, hey, I'm going to pay off the car in 8 months. I said, no, I'll pay it off in 4 years. So, and because I have an 815 credit score, my interest is something like 4.9% is what I believe it is. I believe it's like 4.9%. And that's considered creme de la creme interest rate, folks, in today's market. That is and that's getting on with Southeast Toyota Finance, which can be very difficult, and they can be very choosy on the type of customers that they want. So that was me with an 815 credit score, 2 perfect payment leases in the same job for 18 years. All right. I mean, that is that is creme de la creme. And I actually called Southeast Toyota Finance and got that verified from them too. They're like, yeah, that's about as good as it gets in today's market. Okay. So let's take a look at what a single school teacher who is debt free, what the budget looks like. All right. First off, the reason I'm able to pay $2,000 a month is, well, I have bills that are very, very low. Also, I planned ahead that I was going to get this car. I started thinking about a year ago that I might want to buy a car. I started thinking of it pretty seriously. And so I started shoving money aside. But I wasn't sure if I was going to buy it. So I kind of like held on to about 10,000 and figured I'll just kind of keep it in accounts and let the accounts mature, which they will then over the next couple of months. So let's take a look at my budget and what it used to look like. Okay, this is what my budget used to look like. So I have here student loan, my mortgage. My student loan was 110,000 for those who might not know. So I had here my student loan, my mortgage, my Toyota lease. Okay, that was the lease that I had, and my HOA, which is $435. And that's the HOAs of 2024, as of this year, because they had to increase it a little bit. So that comes to $1,635. Now, if you look at the rest of the budget, okay, and it's not on the screen as I'm filming this, but I'll put it on the screen before I upload it so you can see it. You will notice that I have all my little stuff like I think most households do. Netflix, gym. So actually, I'm going to read it out loud because I know some people aren't looking at the screen. Netflix, $10. Gym, $25. Cell phone, $40. Internet, $65. My gas for my hybrid vehicle, $50. That gas is gonna plummet. I was spending probably about $100 on gas. It's gonna, I think I might even be lower than 50. But I always, I'd rather overestimate than underestimate. So gas, $50. My auto insurance, $175. Welcome to freaking Florida. We won't even get into it. Don't even get me started. No accidents, no tickets. Well, I had to go to traffic school, but that's looking like they're gonna not report that. But this is Florida insurance, so we won't even. It sucks. Okay, 175 for auto insurance for a perfect driver in her 50s. All right, and then also hair, toiletries. I put that down also as $200 a month miscellaneous. And then water and my electric, because I forgot that up above. So that section comes to $740. And then I also looked at my taxes. I pay about $800 a year in taxes. Yes, I live in a very small place. It was not an accident. I'm a school teacher, so I'm showing you a school teacher's budget, how a school teacher lives that is single and really wants to keep the bills low. All right, so and property taxes, I pay about $66 a month, which comes to about $800 a year. My condo insurance, and these are all 2024 figures, $550 a year. So that comes to about $45 a month. And identity theft insurance is about $10 a month. So that section is $121. So if I add up the three sections, which is the student loan, mortgage, Toyota, and my HOA, and then the second section is all the little bills, gym, Netflix, yada, yada. And then my property taxes and stuff. If I add up those three sections, A, B, and C, that comes to $2,496. That is my monthly cost of living, respectively. Okay. Now then, that $2,496 monthly cost. All right. That's including, okay, it includes, bills that I don't have anymore. I don't have a mortgage and I don't have a student loan. Okay. So I don't have those two. So if I take away the mortgage and I take away the fact that I don't have a student loan anymore. All right. That is $800 right there. Because I don't have a mortgage and I don't have a student loan. So that's $800 right there. And guess what? When I'm done paying the for the car, there's another $500 that I won't have. I misbudgeted. I accidentally said it was $400. I'm so used to having a $400 lease payment. I budgeted it's $400. So forgive me. All right, but it's actually $500 because that's what my lease payment is supposed to be. But we'll just keep it $400 for simplicity. Okay, I'm not going to quibble over $100 because I'm not writing this whole budget out again. So basically, I will go from a monthly cost of living of $2,496 to a monthly cost of living of $1,296. Now, of course, I have to eat. So let's put in $500 for some food. My monthly cost of living is approximately $1,796. That's it. Now, you may say, but what about medical insurance and stuff? Very good question. I pay $200 a month towards my insurance deductible and stuff. I have the FSA card, the flexible spending account that covers all contacts, chiropractor, dental, covers almost all of that in a year. Because I never ever see it in my check, Okay, I've never included it in my check because it's taken out before my check is even cut to me. I don't pay attention to that because I just never see it. So I ignore it because it's taken out before the check is even cut. So while I know it's taken out, I don't factor it into my budget because it's not something that's tangible on my paycheck. So I hope that makes sense. So without inundating you more than I already have on budget, okay, you will notice that my budget has nothing really fancy in it. I'm not a member of expensive clubs. You will notice that I don't have a wardrobe budget. My $200 miscellaneous that I have, I'm looking at my sheet here so I keep track of it. Okay. That's $200 a month for just whatever little incidentals come in. Okay. I want to buy a new dress for $40 at, Ross or Marshalls or TJ Maxx. There's $40 there. Okay. I need to get my hair done, which comes every other month. That comes to about $60. So $200 for me is a pretty generous, incidental thing. It really is. It's pretty generous. I mean, that's $100, extra. So how am I able to pay $2,000 a month, more than $2,000 towards a car? Because it'll actually be more. Really simple. I live ridiculously underneath my means. This is how a school teacher making $62,000 a year can be in better shape than, and we've heard it, right, family? We've heard it on this channel. This is how a school teacher, a single school teacher with no one to rely on but myself, can be in better budgetary shape than someone who makes $200,000, and we've heard these calls, and they have no idea where the money's going. I know where my money's going. And, I told you that kind of that roller coaster analogy. This is downhill. I don't have to work. I'm not climbing a hill. I'm just riding. And here's the interesting thing about debt freedom. Even though I'm back in debt, so to speak, to, purchase this car, if anybody had told me, 9 years earlier, hey, Carrie, you're going to, pay off a $26,000 car in 8 months. And I think I can do it in less than 8 months, to be honest. Okay. 8 months is if I tighten up a little bit. I never believed them. To save 10,000 only took a few months, maybe about 5 months, maybe 6, 7, because I had a few more bills to pay at the time. So maybe 6, 7 months to save 10 grand. But now that 10 grand is saved, all right, it's about 16 left for the car. It is all sliding downhill easy. The one thing, if you're going to live on a budget, to achieve debt freedom, you have to be willing to control your emotions when it comes to money. And part of it is also the ability to control your ego. We want so much to impress people. It's interesting. I looked up the Toyota Corolla Hybrid to see what do people not like about the car. You know what's amazing? Do you know almost, and I mean, I looked up professional reviews. If you've watched this channel, I want to know the good, the bad. What's interesting about the Toyota Corolla Hybrid? What seemed to be the #1 complaint people had? It wasn't fancy. That seemed to be the biggest complaint. Hey, the battery in the Toyota Corolla Hybrid, 10 years they warranty that battery for 10 years. That's about the time I'm probably going to sell the car. That's 2 years before I retire. You start to realize that, when I read reviews, I want to know, are we looking at the mechanics of the vehicle? Or are we just looking at the ego and the flashiness? Lots of people don't like the Toyota Corolla Hybrid because it's just not flashy. They go, it's too conservative. It's a conservative looking sedan. You could have a Camry. Now, don't get me wrong. The Camry's gorgeous, especially the new Camrys. All right. But what helps keep me debt free really is I understand what the big goal is that I want with my funds. That's what helps keep me debt free. And do I feel like I'm suffering? If someone said, are you suffering, Carrie? Is this just horrible and awful? Heck no. Heck no. I can literally, $1,796 respectively is what I need with a $500 food budget for me to survive. That's what I need. And I can't take the bill down much more. I can take it down a little bit more. I guess I could cancel a gym membership and cancel Netflix. There's about $30 saved, okay? There's really not much more that I can take it down. But I know what the end result is that I want with my money. I enjoy saving it more at this age than I enjoy spending it. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I know I got a storage locker, okay, for my stuff, for my bedding and stuff. But that's like a hobby. Oh, I forgot the storage locker. Add on $50 a month for the storage locker. I'm sure we'll live. Again, that's why I have that $200 miscellaneous, because I was afraid I'd miss something out. So we can just put it in the $200 a month miscellaneous. But basically, if you want to achieve debt freedom, you have to be able to not let your ego do the talking and let your brain do the talking instead. I think something that really helps is knowing something that helps keep me on focus with my money. I know I can have something if I really, really want it. If I really wanted that Toyota Camry that was $45,000 and gorgeous, I could have had it. And I could have paid it off in about 2 years. In fact, I would have been better paying it off now than I was when I first purchased this condo. Because when I purchased this condo, my mortgage for this condo was as much money as the Camry. They were both $45,000 respectively. Now, if I could pay a $45,000 mortgage off in 2 years, I could certainly pay off a Camry that was $45,000 in 2.5 years. And paying off, and when I had the mortgage, I had a student loan at the time, okay? So it's keeping your eye on the prize. It's understanding why you spend money. It's understanding what do you want from that expenditure. And it's also understanding that you don't have to suffer as much as you think you have to suffer. I think some people think that to achieve debt freedom, it's just, that Dave Ramsey, it's beans and rice every single day. It depends. I could easily be living in a $200,000 condo. I could have easily chosen to drive a $45,000 car. I could have a wardrobe budget where I just spend, $1,000 every school year to impress. I choose not to do that because I would rather, there's something fun about being secretly financially stable. There's something kind of fun about that. Yeah, I know I look kind of poor. Yeah, I know I look kind of broke. Oh, she could only drive a Toyota Corolla hybrid. Oh, she can only live in an 840 square foot condo. Oh, she has to wear her school clothes 3 times. I wear them for 3 years typically before I give them up. Okay? That's the pity party that people may think you're having. When in reality, you're going, you know what? I could buy that Camry if I want to, and I could pay it off in 2.5 years. Okay. If I wanted to sell this condo right now and I wanted to start pursuing a more expensive condo, I guarantee it to you I could do it. I have no debt. And that was the other reason that I guess before I close is why I really wanted why I was ready to buy a car. I realized that really if there was a debt still hanging over my head, if you want to call it as a debt, it's really I didn't own a car. Okay, yes, I leased it, and that's, that's not really a debt because, well, once you fulfill the contract of the lease, okay, you're out of debt. But really, to me, the last little bit that I had left to do to really go, I am done, okay, with owing other people was I needed to own a vehicle. And owning this vehicle is really just the last and final thing. So this little, what is it? This Toyota Corolla hybrid, it will take me, on a low end, it will take me 6 months. Okay, that's if I eat beans and rice. On a normal end, it will take me 7 to 8 months. And I am ecstatic and I'm excited. And if anybody had even told me that I would have the ability to do this, I would have never believed it. And that's the other thing in closing about achieving debt freedom. You will be amazed that you will be able to do things in a time frame that once you would have thought was never possible. I want to go on a trip and it's going to take me $2,000 and I'm going to save for, a year, 2 years to get it. Yeah, I've been there, folks. You know, a $2,000 trip could take a couple of years. You have to decide, are you willing to overspend on your budget so you can impress other people? Because I really think that's what a lot of overspending on budget is. I really do. Are you willing to do it to impress other people? And like you know, and I've discussed it on this channel, I had a student once ask me if I was poor. I've even had an adult tell me once that, well, you know, you live in a condo, you don't live in a house. What difference does it make? What difference does it really, really make? I'd look at the housing market in Florida and what people are paying for insurance. My property taxes last year were $800. Okay. These things are not mistakes. The budget that I'm on today, that I live on today, none of this was a mistake. It was planned. Getting out of debt can't be a mistake. It can't just, it doesn't just kind of happen to you. And people say, well, yeah, but you could win the lottery. That just happens to you. Sure. And you want to tell me somebody who wins a lottery or comes into a great amount of inheritance or whatnot, if they haven't changed their mind frame and they haven't learned on how to deal with money, you want to bet how long that money's going to last. It's not what you make. It's not what you're given. It's what you can manage to keep. That's what it's about. It's what can you manage to keep. And I don't care how poor and broke I look to people. I really don't. All right. What I care about is when I go to bed at night, I know that I can live on about 40% of my take-home income. And what do I do with the other 60%? Well, I'll figure that out as soon as I get done with this $26,000 car payment in about 7 months. But in all honesty, it'll just be shoved into retirement. Massive amounts will go into retirement. A whole bunch of it. I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit-Chat. I want to thank you for joining me this evening. I know this dealt with some numbers. I hope it didn't get too confusing. But either way, I wanted to give you an idea as to this is a realistic budget. This is a school teacher party of one budget. This is how I've lived for years now. And just simply knocking out the student loan, knocking out the mortgage, knocking out just little tiny amounts of credit card debt. Not a lot of credit card debt, but you know, tiny amounts of credit card debt, knocking that out. Avoiding lifestyle creep. There's nothing fancy about this budget, and that's what I want you to see. There's nothing in here that somebody goes, oh my God, well, that's what did it. It's the secret ingredient. There's no secret ingredient at all. It's just a budget. And it's a budget that I can stick to. See, no surprises. There's nothing magical. And if a single school teacher can do it, I think anybody can. I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit-Chat. I hope you'll consider subscribing. Have a great night. Goodbye, folks.